could all tell me that I spelled it out pretty well. In 7/8, and just playing over 7/8, just a different way where I kept the hi-hat going as if it was in 7/4. So the hi-hat was going over the bar line, and in order to spell out the quarter note. And many times, a lot of times when I play, sometimes if I play a drum solo, or if I'm working with a group of people and I end up playing a drum solo, where I'm playing in time, it doesn't matter, 4/4, whatever. And it's sort of like, I have a certain number of bars and I'm playing over a form, or I'm going to play an open solo that keep the same rhythm. A lot of times I'll keep my hi-hat, I'll continue playing my hi-hat, and a lot of times I'll splash it, just so that people can hear, they can always feel the time. And the trade-off to that is not using the hi-hat as a voice, another voice, that's sort of like what you have to give up. And, but at least if you start playing very disjointed types of rhythms that are difficult to hear, suddenly they become more apparent when you use the hi-hat as a metronome. And I got my standing up here, talking real loud. I got no voice. I'm screaming. And anyway, a lot of times when I just play an open solo, for me, oftentimes I'll use a motif, some sort of any kind of rhythmic motif, and try to build from that. And sometimes I'll just sit down behind the drums, and I don't have a clue what I'm going to play, like today. And the reason that I do that is because it forces me to continually take chances. Is my fly open? I don't have a fly. Did you know that I'm really a woman?
Show it.
I'll show you later. Not now. In the office. Just kidding. I'm really bad. And you interrupted me. I forgot what I was saying. It wasn't important anyway. Oh, God. Studio ride. You can't use the cymbal live. Studio. Yeah, I got a record date. I need a cymbal. I got it. Oh, God. It self-destructs. You take it to a nightclub.
It self-destructs.
Oh, yeah.
Wat zou het zijn?
Okay. So, what the hell was I talking about anyway? I can't remember. So, anyway, what I was saying, seriously, is oftentimes I'll start with a motif and blah, 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 or I'll have something in mind. Then I'll say, well, okay, I'm going to play this rhythm for a while and try to develop on this rhythm, or I'll play drum solo and I'll have an outline. And oftentimes I don't do it, and the reason I don't is because it keeps me open to take chances, whether it's good or bad. I never really know what the result will be. If I just sit down behind a drum set and suddenly I've just got a blank slate and I have no clue what I'm going to play, especially in front of a large audience. It's tough to do that, but I purposely do it because sometimes when a person gets to, we all do it. We all get to points in our playing where we reach a plateau, so to speak, and you're sort of in a rut and you don't know where else to go, and you learn how to do things and you learn how you build up a vocabulary of rhythms and patterns and this, that, and the other thing, and it's always safe. It's, and it's very easy to not take any chances. And to me, it's really important to take chances, and that forces me to take chances. And if it comes out better than I expected, great. If it doesn't, then at the very least, I open myself up to whatever could happen. And I feel that that's a very important exercise to do that, because a lot of times, it's very easy to practice things and become comfortable with them at home, and you do the same things on a gig, and then you go and you practice and you learn new things, and you say, well, how am I going to do this on the gig? Well, if you don't just spontaneously take that chance on a gig, then what's going to happen is you'll probably end up just saying, okay, I've got this new lick I worked out in 30 bars from now, I'm going to play it. And yeah, well, you just wait till you hear this one, and everybody's going to go, oh. Meanwhile, you're thinking about it so hard that the time comes and you're like, oh, gee, that was underwhelming, because it's just, it's not spontaneous. And if that's not important to you, to be that spontaneous, if you think that, well, look, I'm going to have all my stuff worked out, and who's going to know the difference anyway, because I'm playing in a different town every night or whatever. It's not that important to me. I'd rather be consistent, always know what I'm going to play. Great. Okay, whatever. But that doesn't spawn creativity, necessarily. And sometimes you have to go to extremes in order to keep feeding the creative urge, the creative momentum, so to speak. So, basically, to make a long story short, that's why I do that. And, I happened upon this little 7/4, and I played, just sort of soloed around it, and then I ended up with sort of a second line, quasi-New Orleans meets Elvin Jones snare drum kind of thing. And I just sort of went where I felt like going. And, obviously I had the capacity where I could have, maybe played it more Latin-y or rock and roll or more funk and broken up rhythms between the snare and these sort of things. But that's just not what I felt like doing at that moment. And I can demonstrate whatever it is that you want me to do that you didn't hear, try to anyway. And so to me that's like kind of a big difference between playing with a band and playing drum solos. For a lot of you that may have come to the club last night, you probably heard a lot of different types of things because we have different tunes that we play, and some are more funk oriented, and you'll hear sharper, more jagged kinds of grooves, and some are very loose 4/4 oriented, sort of Coltrane. And you hear the differences in those kind of concepts. But then when I sit down and play the drums, I'm not up here to try to show every possible concept that I can play. I think that it's more important to just let things flow and take it from there. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about the physiology of people and the instrument. For example, you sit down, you've got an instrument you're not used to. And suddenly you have to make the shift between playing funk and playing bebop and all these kinds of things. And you have one sound coming out of that instrument. So the change is up to you internally to make that change. And it's quite a challenge. It's a very difficult challenge, in fact. I mean, you wouldn't sit down behind a real dead set of drums and try to play like Elton Jones, because the sound doesn't lend itself to that kind of music. So it's very, you know, and for a drummer, it's particularly difficult because, you know, a guitar player can, you know, change settings and completely alter his sound or just pick up another guitar. But I can't go to a gig and switch drum sets. I'm not going to switch cymbals every song, you know what I mean? Or snare drums or kick drums and suddenly, you know, turn around and have an 18-inch bass drum, you know, in a real dark K, and then, you know, have the roadie come out and pull that out and put a big 22-inch, you know what I mean? And a Z ride just because I'm going to play some bash music or something. So it's difficult. So a drummer really has that sort of challenge to have to change his concept internally. And it manifests itself in different ways, where suddenly your touch becomes different, the movements you make around the drums become different, bless you. Your touch, the way you hold the sticks, you know, all that sort of thing. And it's a good challenge to keep you in focus with yourself, to do that. Making more deliberate strokes on funk things and then making very wide, sort of loose strokes when you play 4/4, changing your whole physiology. It's important, you know. I mean, if I was going to sit down and practice and do that, I would say, okay, you know, I mean, first of all, let me add this, that it even changes within styles of the same idiom. For example, you could sit down and play a certain kind of simple funk groove, like on one of the tunes I played with John. I could sit down, and I know that you have to be a certain way, so if I'm going to just play... First of all, one of the key figures is the hi-hat. And the hi-hat has to be very crisp. And the downbeat of each bar is critical. So I might accent that by opening the hi-hat and hitting the bass drum. Or I might just do this. Leaving a space at the end of the bar. That also creates tension for the next downbeat and winds up the whole cycle. And also the reason I said that I would do this is part of orchestrating what we play on the drums. And that'll make a difference too in the impact and it'll make a difference in the impact of the groove, and it'll make it the whole sort of a subtle difference in the way the drum set sounds is how you orchestrate things on the drums. Now, not to get on too much of a tangent, but to stay within the same vein of what I'm talking about. So I'm playing something like this. I know the hi-hat has to be real crisp. I could vary it ever so slightly by building it inside of the tune by playing it a little louder eventually. Etc. Now, or even if you have another kind of simple funk groove, which may not sound funky, or it's even the simplest thing. physiologically speaking, with deliberation. So you can see what the focus of what I'm playing is, the deliberation of it. That's just the physiology of it. That has nothing to do with the fact that I developed it a little bit by altering the bass drum and by playing ghost notes in the left hand and what they do. I'm just strictly talking now about the physiology and the mental concept of playing it a certain way and getting a certain touch out of the drums. Now part of that also, that's just with the right hand. Now if I was going to go back to the first groove, you'd notice that the left hand plays an important role too, and that the ghost notes that I'm playing are also very marked and very articulate and short and have to be exactly in a certain rhythmic place. Otherwise that'll alter the whole feel of the groove. Instead of, it's very subtle. Take these things for granted. But then when you try to put it all together and you move one little element to alter the feel, it becomes very important. So you're playing these things with a lot of deliberation instead of playing it loose. And that'll affect the way you strike the drums and the way you hold the sticks and everything. As opposed to suddenly having to play some